Hello my friends. For this introduction, I have two very good friends out there. These two friends, Mike Walt and Stephen Ogle. Can you imagine both of them in my yard? And I know they're eyeing my woodpile. That's Stephen Ogle. I'm telling you, you've got to keep an eye on him. And I know Stephen Ogle has been pacing back and forth over there and eyeing my woodpile. So I got to make this quick, and I got to keep an eye on them. Never know what they're up to. The big screen, that's today's project. It's a ficus up there, and I'm going to be doing somewhat of a false natural edge vase. Why false? Stick around.
And Al, fantastic job, buddy. That thing just looked great when you got done, and I really like what you did with it.
I was looking for some stuff for bowls. I was on the look short of bowl material. Maybe want a couple of those boards.
Can I get some of that wood? I was thinking today I'm just going to mess around. I'm going to do whatever I want to do, and I've been out at my wood pile and found this piece of walnut right here. All right, hey, let's get this thing going.
Good morning, my friends. Here I am, back at the shed, on the lathe again. And today, I got a small ficus tree. Now, ficus grows very odd shaped trunk. So it actually is a piece of wood that works pretty nice if you want to hollow out a vase from the end grain, and all these indents will give you some nice, like this would give you some tall wing, shorter wing, and another tall wing on this side. So all of this would end up pretty nice. Today's project is going to be a cross grain vase. So this is going to be the top of the vase, and this will be the base. So I'm going to mount it on the lathe. It's going to be mounted on the spur drive on this end, tailstock on this end. So I'm actually going to drill that out and set it up on my worm screw. Whenever you can, it's always a good idea to set it up on a worm screw. It's a great holding method. You get a good grip if the wood is solid. Now, if the wood is really funky and stuff like that, that's not a good grip. Now, I'm gonna get ready and start turning this. And of course, my speed is set at 600 RPMs, and that's fine. And it's starting to run pretty smooth, you know, just knocking off these edges. So I'm going to be a little bit aggressive with this.
Definitely something that the sanding will go down. I got a little bit of high fibers right over here, but this side is not bad. The whole thing is pretty smooth. Gonna sand it up a little bit. Now, also this area over here is the determining factor of the mouth shape of the vase, and this is the shape that's going to show up, and I'm not so sure I like that. So actually, before doing that, I'm going to refine this top a little bit as well, and I'm going to turn this where the top of the vase is not going to end up with these 4 square points over here. So leaving this flare out, well, I see exactly what the top of the vase would look like. There would be these 4 fairly geometric edges. So by taking this out and following up this line over here, up to the top, this actually might look better as a vase that goes in towards the top, so I don't get to this. So I'm going to rough cut this top and change this design. The vase will look a lot better than what it did. It will give me more than I like. But I'm seeing flaw with the design shape itself. Not this belly over here. And to me, with the flaw that I got here, concave here, belly here, concave here, doesn't flow. It seems to be an afterthought and something that much going into it. So what I have to do is decide, okay, what's wrong with this form, and make adjustments. So I'm going to make some drastic adjustment right now. I'm going to take out this whole belly out of it. It might ruin the piece, but as it is, I don't like the piece. So I have to find the balance that it wants to be. I have to find that. Straight in and gouge it out and then say, oops, I messed up. I take small pieces and see what's developing out of it. Okay, and take a look. Already not having a belly there and having this sharp edge over here. Okay, see, if I commit it, I did not like the concave and then a ball over here, a round shape, and then a concave again. The flow did not seem to follow, it didn't seem to flow together. It didn't seem to belong. Now, if I took it and decided, oh, I don't like that design, and came back here and took it all down to this, I'm not saying it would be a bad design factor, but it would take any options away from what you do with the piece. So rather than do that, I come slowly and see what's developing with the design and the flow from the bottom up, and get to a point to say, okay, that's already a much more pleasing shape. I like this shape over here. This concave and this concave work well together. So that will be the deciding factor of how's my vase going to look. So the only thing I have to do now is make a small adjustment and take out this flat part over here. So I have two options. I can continue going a little bit deeper, which I still have to refine it slightly, not much, over here, and then the neck part just come back a little further and make this neck, and that's the route I'm going to go. I'm just going to refine this, get rid of this little lump that I got going over here, and the neck will be from here on up, and this part of the neck, that looks fine, and this part of the neck, well, it goes a little bit deeper than what I wanted to. So I'm going to refine this neck area a little bit and make the concave so it goes away from this very sharp, drastic piece that comes all the way up to the base of the neck. So I'm going to work that up a little bit. Now, the only area that's bothering me a little bit, even though it's a natural edge top, but this area seems to come down a little bit further than what I want. It's flat with the edge of the mouthpiece, as you can see here. There's no concave over here, where this side looks pretty good. You can see that it still allows the concave going in, but it dies at the concave. To me, that's the wrong place for it to die. So I'm just going to go back a little bit more here, dig a little bit here, so this ends up in an outward swing from the overall of the vase. So one more cut on there. So now all of a sudden that's on an upswing, and that's fine to me. So when I start working on this neck piece, this will maintain and this area will maintain, and that will be the overall shape of the vase, and I think that's a good look for this. Cuts, not too bad. I've had it cleaner than this, but I don't want to keep going and gouging this vase out. I think that the shape is very nice. I don't have any really deep tool marks. I have a little bit of tear out over here. Definitely some, a little bit more on this neck area where I was shearing rather than cutting. And this one right here is fairly deep. So it would take a lot of sanding for me to get rid of that, or I would have to live with it on the end results. So I'm going to make a slight shave on this and see if I can get rid of some of this, as well as get rid of that little tear out back there. You're going to find the areas or your approaches on how you're going to have to flow, and your approach and what gives you a clean cut, and your approach and what gives you a rough cut. And there we go. Now this is only sanding with 80 grit. There will be a lot more sanding on this, but I'm not ready to finalize this piece. I'm going to reverse it and start hollowing up the inside of the piece. Well, now that that's drilled up as deep as my Furtado bit will go, I am ready to start hollowing this out. Now, I don't have a real hollowing tool. I have a couple of shop-made tools. I use quite a bit of a gouge, the sharpest one that I got, and I will work this out, and then once I can't get in there any further, then I go with my shop-made hollower, and this allows me to come to the back side of this corner, and I'll be able to follow in there. Once I got this a little wider in here, opening, slightly wider opening in here and back here, then I will go back with my Furtado bit and come in a little bit deeper. For now, I'm going to work on this, bring the speed back up. Whenever you can, work at a slightly faster speed rather than slower, but still being safe. It's you get a better cut and less beating up. As you're cutting, as long as you don't get a catch. So that's the key. Don't get a catch when you're going at a higher speed. Nice and easy. Now, cheating a little bit. I'm going to talk about cheating and working with the design. Okay, I love this, and I kind of like this, but I would like this a lot more if these jagged lines were going through as well here. But if you take your sander, your disc, a heavy grit, like an 80 grit, and you go in here, just on the edges, now you just created a much more interesting neck piece on the thing. I will not do this to a vase that I am establishing a straight look, but on a case like this where the straight look doesn't flow anymore, then doing something like that is an easy way to establish a little bit of character to it. You know, you can see it's not a great wood per se, but it's definitely a decent wood. The grain is fairly tight. It has some really nice waves in it, and figure eight shaping and so on and so forth. So it's not bad. Well, here I am again. I'm back and taking over my grandson's job. He's slacking. I tell you, this day camp deal just doesn't fly very well when I need him over here to continue with his legacy and his sanding. And I think he does a better job than I do, so I gotta get him out of there. I'll talk to the mother and say, you know, this thing just doesn't go very well. So back to my paste wax finish, min wax, finishing wax. I believe that's good. I try. It doesn't mean I'm successful on not putting too much ramble, but I realize that when I don't put some of it in, I don't offer some of the details or some of my insight. And I don't know if you want to hear my insight or, you know, why I do certain things. If you want to hear as to my thought process while I'm doing stuff, put it up in the comments. Or else I can just fast forward through most of it and show you the steps of what's going on and show you a finished vase. And it's like, okay, that's what I did. And leave the rest up to you. But, you know, it's important that I hear from you guys and say, hey Al, I like when you give detail, or you don't give detail, or you talk too much, or you don't talk enough, whatever it is. Put it down. I can take you, you know, criticism as well as I can take the praises. Sometimes a little bit better because, you know, I really don't know what to say when I get praised a little bit too high. You know, I am not creating anything that's really deserving of some of the comments that you guys leave. I do mediocre stuff. Every one of you guys that I go to your channels and I see your work, I envy your work. I always think that you are doing better work than I am. So, you know, don't for a minute think that I'm over here teaching you techniques or anything of that sort. Basically, I'm just giving you a thought process on what I do. And, you know, sometimes what I do has some shape that might be a little bit pleasing and something that maybe you want. And that's really the goal, is to make something that people look at and say it's pleasing to their eye. And they say, ooh, I want to attempt and make something like that. And most of the cases on something that I turn, it doesn't have that type of reaction. And when I do it, I know that
you know, it's not a wow factor. It's not something different. It's not something that, you know, hasn't been done before, or, you know, nobody has seen. But, you know, in some cases I will show a little bit of a thought process that, you know, maybe you can see things in your end with a slight twist. I'm not saying it's a good twist, but if it works for you, and if you know, if it's something you say, oh, I like the shape, I like, you know, the way he did that, or not. I mean, I'm just doing this because that's what I happen to have in my hand. If this was a ball on the bottom, it would have been the same effect. But I try to maintain, if something is circular, I try to maintain that flow, and that's really, I think, the key in my eye. What attracts me something is maintaining a flow of lines from one end to the other. If you start with a ball and all of a sudden you end up with sharp edge and you know, and the straight lines, you know, they usually don't go very well. But if you flow things and that same clean line maintains all the way through, most likely you'll be okay. And again, I say you'll be okay. Not to any type of a standard, and I don't have a standard. I only have, I think, what might appeal to me, and what appeals to me does not mean it appeals to you. What appeals to you is the right method and the right thing to do, and don't let nobody tell you that, oh, it's off proportion, or it's too big, it's too small. If you see that in your work, then you might want to agree with those comments. But if you don't see it in your work, and if you think that your piece looks just fine, you don't let anybody else tell you that it doesn't, because it doesn't fit a formula of any type. You're not in thirds, or you're not in quarters, or you're not in whatever formula it is that makes them say, well, you know, the proportion between here and here should be X by Z. Screw all of that. Formula between here and here is your eye, and but if you like it or not, and nothing else. I'm weird. Take care. See you very soon.